Oh, all right.
Oh, that they will build too.
What's that?
They will build too. All right.
Oh, okay. However you want to do it. You ready? We've got 9 o'clock, call the meeting to order, start with pledge of allegiance. Oh, yeah.
Where did they put it now? Things tricky.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mochler,
Here.
Graylobe,
Here.
Brady,
Here.
Peasy,
Here.
Gilbertson.
Here.
Approve agenda.
Move, second then.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Conflict of interest declarations. Hearing none. Approve minutes for the March 31st meeting.
So moved.
Second. A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Are there any visitors to be heard that are not on the agenda?
I've got a quick one if there aren't any in the audience. So I just wanted to commend Highway Department employee Tim Dooley for rolling back-to-back 300s at the Yankton Bowl on March 25th. He is the second person in Yankton Bowl history and only the 14th person in South Dakota history to achieve that. So real proud of Tim. I'm not surprised. That isn't gonna help.
I'll
No.
have to get him a convertible ticket. Any other visitors? Hearing none. We got the bid opening for the removal of structure 14-030-180. Gregoire Excavating. Got a total bid of $53,439.07. There's a check. Cashier's check for the same. Holman Excavating. Got a total bid of $24,973. Three D digging. $59,000 even. Persing Excavating. Bid of $90,000.
You're just gonna note if they don't have a bid bond, right?
Yeah, they have that's all the bids for that project. Brent will go through these, make sure that everybody puts the same specs in there. And then we'll award it at the next meeting. Unless you can get through it today. That's fine. And then we got a bid opening for a road widener. Single right side discharge machine. And this one's from Butler, Sioux Falls. $69,785.77. This one's from hydraulic truck conveyor. Delivered price of $56,000. And that includes the Cat Fusion hitch. If needed, we'll provide an additional hitch for the skid steer for $2,000.
Are these new machines?
Yes. They send bid bonds with these? They send a cashier's. Michael, do you know, are they supposed to send bid bonds with machinery bids? I can understand for work.
Right.
Cause Tim, I'm gonna ask a stupid question. Bid bonds cost money, right?
Yes. The notice to bidders did. Said that each bid must be accompanied by a certified check, cashier's check, or bank draft in the amount of 5% of the total bid. If drawn on a solvent state or national bank. In lieu thereof, 10% bid bond issued by a surety authorized to do business in the state of South Dakota and made payable to Clay County may be submitted. I think the fact that the notice.
Fine, the notice, I'm sure it was in the notice. I'm just wondering going forward, do we need bid bonds on machinery?
No. Good question.
Cause the bid bonds are for security of work performed or to be performed, correct? Isn't that the point of the bid bond?
That's how I understand it. I would generally agree with that. Let me look into it. So I mean, I can pull up the bid booklet, but that's a multi-page, 27-page document.
Which is fine. It's just,
Some state law that I need to look at too.
and then we'll open those at least.
I actually might have this answer. Bid bond says. If the invitation for bids is for the construction of a public improvement, each shall contain a certified check, cashier's check. Then it talks about bid bonds too. It says, although not specifically required, entities have implied authority to require bid bonds for purchase or supplies or services. So discretionary, according to the 2024 bid booklet.
Okay. I'm
Good question.
just wondering if we do need it going forward, since
Yeah.
it's a piece of equipment that's gonna be provided.
Yeah, I mean, I think it seems, it says it's implied authority, so it's definitely discretionary.
I think that my one thought I would have is that since they do cost money, we would just want to have clarity in our policy so that anybody that's bidding isn't including that cost if it's not something that we're requiring. Get possibly lower bids that ways.
Well, I'm just wondering if we're losing out on bids because we're requiring it, and they're just going, let's just cut into profit that we don't wanna give up.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think on the construction projects and stuff, I think it makes sense to have those.
That
bid
we
bonds
have
in
to
there.
do.
Yeah, but yeah, with the equipment, I don't know why it would be necessary if the machine's just delivered.
Because we haven't required those when we do vehicles. We don't require bid bonds.
Right. Yeah, and I'm sure that's why it's discretionary for anything other than public improvement.
Seems like a good thing to have on the agenda, maybe. Yep.
Put that on the next agenda.
Great.
Good thinking.
Anything else, Brent, for bid openings, any questions? Linnea, annual meeting with the board.
All right, so I think I gave you guys all the packet, 2 pages. Format as last year, so we'll just kind of walk through it. If you have questions, just stop me. So right across the top, sale audit, we have that online state system that was implemented a couple of years ago, but it was completed in person this year. Our median sale ratio for 2026 is actually higher than it was last year, which was awesome. Don't have finalized numbers yet, but we're looking at somewhere between 87.6 and 88.0. With the new governor bill that went into effect in 2025, owner occupied homes can't increase overall more than 3%. It was really tricky. We were short staffed, so I decided not to make market adjustments across the board this year and just let it go another year. With that, not making market adjustments, our coefficient of dispersion did go up to 23.12. But that's still within the requirements of state law that the coefficient be less than 25. So without any major changes to anyone across the board, the ratio was better. So I just
And I would say just for anybody that might be listening in or something, and these are terms of art, and I know you explained them to me at some point. So the median ratio, that is the ratio of the price that we have on the record versus what the actual market value would be.
Yep.
And this is the average across all the properties in the county.
The median.
The median, thank
Yep,
you.
The
Yep,
average
good
would be
clarification.
more affected by your highs and lows.
Thank you.
Because it's kind of it's the average. We use the median. That's what state law governs, is that our median has to be between 85 and 100%. If our median is over 100, we're required by law to lower values. If it's below 85, we have to increase.
And then the coefficient of dispersion is like a measure of the spread around that median. So
Yep. So
some
there's
are valued, some are undervalued.
Yep. So one is about your level of assessment. One is your accuracy of assessment. And so those are the two things that state law requires us to look at every year.
Thank you.
So with not making market changes, obviously the accuracy has gone down slightly, but it's still within the requirement of state law. Yep. So the total non-factored assessed value from assessment notices that went out was at just over 1.9 billion. So that's kind of the overall value of the county. As far as growth goes, our growth was up $32,899,886, which is wild. And then I remembered that we dissolved the TIF district. So $30,409,789 of that new growth comes directly from the TIF 6 dissolution, which I believe you claimed as growth last year. I haven't worked out all the bugs on how that's going to work out, but if you take away the growth from the TIF, it leaves about 0.13% growth, which is not much. The other thing that's affecting that is that owner-occupied properties, once again, going back to the 2025 Governor's Bill, Senate Bill 216, owner-occupied properties that have improvements, if the improvements do not total more than 40% of their value, it is now considered reappraisal, not growth. So if somebody finished their basement, that used to be considered growth. Now it's considered reappraisal. Decks, extra garage stall, you know, things that qualify as owner occupied, those things are no longer considered growth. So with that, our reappraisal again is usually captures the market adjustments. Without doing any market adjustments, we still had some significant reappraisal of 150 million and odd change. It's down about 9 million from where we were at last year with reappraisal. I believe added up to about a 10% reappraisal increase across the board last year. And now this year it's down, but still values out to be about a 7% increase in that reappraisal, or 7% of the total value was reappraisal. That's what I'm trying to say. So if you look at the overall county, 93% was existing, 7% is this reappraisal adjustment. Moving on to ag land, top crop dollar went up $4.11 per acre for a very small percent change to crop values. It was 0.1%. Top pasture went up $38.83 per acre for a 1.94% increase to pasture values. So kind of reflecting what I was seeing on the market adjustment side, our productivity almost broke even as well from 25 to 26. The activity of what we reviewed is we reviewed the towns of Irene and Wakanda, and we completed a review with Change Finder. I'll get more into that later. It's always exciting. We have our flyover once every 3 years, and then we get to see everything that's changed. And then our usual just following up with building permits that were needed. So you can see there were no market adjustments made to anything that's on the market system. Last year, we talked about in continuing to work towards compliance with our ag land valuations, we had some ratings that did not comply. They were called trees, marsh, and sand. We have a plan for trees, but they're quite a big chunk to chew. And then, so what I did this year was I looked at all of our marsh and sand areas. Sand typically falls within a soil, I believe. Can I remember? I think it's Norway soil, which is already a sand rating. Its rating is 0.1% of top pasture. So it values out at like $203 an acre. And we had it in as sand at like $203 an acre after I made changes. So by removing that sand and letting it just ride as the soil, I don't think we had many changes in value, and that gets us into compliance with state law. So that was one of the things I did was, especially with the new flyover, I combed across the Missouri River and then parts of the Vermilion River that changed and made sure areas that were sandy were actually being valued on their soil table or had adjustments as necessary that comply with state law. So that was one of my ag projects this last year. As far as building permits go, we had 184 county-wide, which is down 103 permits. There's a new city software that came out that allows us to get permits digitally now at our own on our own time. We don't have to request them and wait for city staff to have time to send us over a batch of permits that were filed in the last month. It's just really streamlined the process, and it gives us access to all the blueprints. If we didn't end up saving something, we can jump back in the program and download it for our office. It's really helpful. In that transition, we did decide to cut out like siding, windows, roofing permits. That's the bulk of what permits are. Fencing, we don't reappraise if you put up a fence. So we decided not to follow up on those permits anymore. I think that's a lot of why our permit count is lower, is we're not clocking those into our system anymore. I know that roofing, siding, and windows can be helpful when insurance people call. A lot of times they'll call our office and see if we have information about when a roof was redone. So moving forward with new staff, I think that's something that we'll put in our system, but our field staff won't go out and actually look at a building that just has no change other than a new roof or new siding. And then as far as market sales go, we're down 17 market sales to 159 countywide, which is quite a drop from where we were several years ago. So we're just seeing stuff sit on the market for longer and not as much inventory moving. So, any questions on that stuff? No?
I had one on
Yeah.
the flyovers.
Mhm.
Do you, I'm sure you don't automatically do, but are some of those you go out and visit physically then?
Yes. Yep. There's some that are tree covered, some that are shadow covered, especially with the flyover in February. Some of the shadows can get pretty deep. And so though, or if there's frost on the ground, that can cause weird illusions. We also have with the flyover, it'll pick up. How many did we find this year? I think we found 2 mobile homes that people had just kind of trashed in the woods basically, and you can't quite tell what it is. And you go look and you're like, that's a whole mobile home, but it's not livable. They're using it for the running gear. Their plan is to tear everything off the top and then use the chassis. So stuff like that we'll go out and visit.
Okay.
Or we had 2 or 3 sheds that we thought were sheds, and then you go out and it's like somebody's garden that they've wrapped with a tarp, because greenhouse effect, they're starting to, start the baby seeds, and it's like, all right, that's personal property.
Yep.
Yep. And I'll get more into Change Finder on the next page too. And on a high note, our work plan for this next year is we're still working on converting to Catalyst. I believe our go live date is now right after the 4th of July. We will have some on-site staff training from the Catalyst team. I believe our lead from Oklahoma is going to come up and be in office with us for about a week. And then continuing to phase out Bossa Nova and ProVal. With that, we're planning to review as much of Vermilion Commercial as we can. We do have to re-sketch all of our sketching, which is where the basis of the cost table comes from, is your sketch provides square footage. So we'll do as much commercial as we can. We're also going to have new cost tables in Catalyst. So that's always an adventure in and of itself. It resets your depreciation and all your market increases and that kind of stuff gets shook up with a new cost table. And then hopefully by July, I have 2 new staff and we'll be upstairs. So that's going to take up a lot of our time in May as well. As far as Beacon goes, we kind of not much for change, 41 subscriptions. It's the same as last year, but I know that we've had quite a few monthly subscriptions roll in and out of there. Our visits were down 3,500 people, and then parcels viewed was still up. So I think that's a little bit accounts for that monthly subscription. If you're only getting it for a month, you're going to look at more stuff. But with the market slowing down, we have less people visiting the site. The customer service desk, we were up 276 parcels. So we've had a few more people stopping in the office to look for information. We completed the Change Finder, and you can see image views and logins down below. It looks like we had a lot more images viewed, but of those 11,000 and odd change, 9,000 of those were viewing images to do Change Finder reappraisal. So continuing with Change Finder on the next page, we had 1,265 parcels with changes. This is new structures, demolished structures, additions. So in the last 3 years, that's 14% of parcels that were changed. That includes kind of your permits. A lot of the Change Finder, we can just click right away that it matched with what we have in our system. We ended up removing $121,527 of demolished buildings from tax rolls. So this is kind of my friendly yearly reminder that if you're taking something down, just let us know. If you're going to move a grain bin, let us know. If something burns up and you thought it wasn't much value because it wasn't insurable, still let us know. We might have $100 on it and we can get that off your tax rolls. Conversely, everyone's willing to let us know when they take something down. Not a lot of people are willing to tell us when they put something up. We added $1.7 million to the assessment values due to our Change Finder. We ended up finding a mobile home and a house and a 900 square foot addition to a house. Lots of grain bins, lots of sheds, that kind of thing. So no one wants to be a tattletale. I get that. We can be discreet. But if you notice something going on, let us know, because this helps offset your tax burden. The fact that we found 2 entire houses, basically, one was a mobile home, but still it's a dwelling that people had not gotten permits for is kind of baffling.
Somebody built a house without a permit.
Yep.
That's the one that got me.
And to be fair, I think it was modular, so it got moved in pretty quick, but it's right off of the highway. You think you would have spotted it? I could go into more detail, but I don't want to, public shame or anything. I was just, so if you want to know who's or where, I can certainly share that. But it was like, what? That's a house. Yeah. Yep. Anyway. So $1.7 million added that we could have had offsetting current tax burden over the last 3 years. So as far as appeals go, the 14 local boards had a total of 12 appeals. Of those 12 appeals, 7 were no changes, 5 they made changes to. Our office, of those 5 that were changes, 2 were recommendations for ag status. Because we'd received we were able to get them in our office, process an application, and get them moved over to ag. So again, another friendly reminder, if you know somebody that makes $2,500 in income or higher off of their acreage, again, you have to have 20 acres to count as agricultural, with a primary agricultural pursuit on that 20 acres. If you have less than 20 acres, then we need proof of income. So if you know somebody that definitely would fall under that, send them our way. It's easier to do it in the summer or even in the fall than waiting until boards when you have 10 days to get it to the local board to be approved. So as of today, for our meeting this afternoon, normally this meeting is a week before. My annual review with you is a week before, and I don't have everything in yet, but I know everybody we're seeing this afternoon. We have 13 total appeals. At the consolidated board, there's 6 appeals and 3 recommendations for a total of 9. And then I forgot to update my totals, didn't I? At the county board, we have 4. 3 are appeals and 1 was a local decision that I'm bringing back to update. It was an ag status. The board gave ag status, but I did not have ag status application or income proof for a parcel that's less than 20 acres. So we just had to go that extra step in getting some documentation. So conference this year is June 2nd through June 5th in Sioux Falls. We'll have 2 attending, Melissa and myself. Our new appraiser, it won't count towards their certification, so we'll probably just let them be in the office working on their certification books. And then in school is going to be September 14th through 18th in Pierre. The 3 staff that are under certification requirements will be attending. So that's kind of overview of values and what's going on in our office. Any questions on any of that yet? Well, okay. General information, there's new legislation out. I've had a few questions in my office, and I think Carrie has sent some your way as well. Reminder, it doesn't become effective until July 1st, unless there was an emergency clause. So one of the big ones is last year when Ina was in watching our office during school and conference, I had her correct our owner occupied. So the previous law surrounding owner occupied is that it only qualifies the house, the land, and 1 garage, whether attached or detached. You get house, land, 1 garage. So I had her go through our whole county, visit every property and make sure that we didn't have extra structures unless they were smaller than 300 square feet and clearly being used for residential use. Senate Bill 154, owner occupied now applies to all residential structures. So if they are ancillary to residential use, they count as owner occupied, which is how a lot of counties, including ours up until this last year, were processing owner occupied. So I had her correct it just for the legislator to change it. And now we have to put them all back on. That's fine. We'll make it happen. So it's something that'll provide a lot of tax relief to counties that had not been. It'll provide relief to counties that have been following the law in the past. For those of us that weren't following it, we're now compliant. Okay. So I went through the process of fixing it all, and now I have to fix it again, but that's okay. Senate Bill 12 and House Bill 1193 updated the veterans exemption process, particularly when it comes to abatements. Kind of gave us guidelines on how many years prior we could look at. I don't have guidance on it yet. I just know that I'm business as usual until July 1st. And then Senate Bill 3 is something I haven't looked into too much. This is more on Noah's side, but it kind of aligns with what I was saying on permits that we're no longer following up on. It limits the ability to require permits for certain improvements to residential structures. And I believe that it was a thing where they no longer allow counties or cities or municipalities or whatever to require you to get a permit if you're making changes within your own residential structure. It started out to be quite a lot. It was like almost everything if it was owner occupied. And then they were able to walk it back to very minimal stuff, which I think is okay, but it's definitely something to watch for. I think we'll feel some kickback on that if people are like, well, I don't have to get a permit. I live here. And it's like, yeah, but you're still doing something that could affect, code or the safety of your home or damage to public structures. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I do think they changed it to like if you're doing windows or siding, maybe on your own home. So, and then we have had 3 interviews. We had about 6 applicants, did 3 interviews, and I'm trying to get through appeals so I can start calling people back. That's where I'm at. So it's update on hiring in my office.
So we don't require building permits for siding, windows,
No.
or repaint.
No, but there's some of that the city did, and now we're not going to have as much information.
It's no longer required then.
I don't know. We're going to have to look at Senate Bill 3 a little closer and see how that affects our office. I just know it was one of the ones that,
Anything you can hear us too.
so that'll be interesting for sure.
I could imagine losing a bit of information about updated valuations that they could be pretty significant.
Yep. And again, our office we're not just in it to try and raise your taxes or anything like that. We don't do taxation. We're looking for accurate information. We're looking to make sure that you're equal with your neighbors. We're making sure that we're a resource for realtors and insurance. I'd say the majorities of our phone calls through the year are insurance and real estate and that kind of thing going, hey, when did they put a new roof on? What is the siding type? We get at least one of those every day. So we're a resource too. We've had an influx of people trying to do historic research on their homes and figure out when changes were made. And if we don't have that information, we're not helpful. Last page I gave you, Glenn and I talked about this a while ago. I find this really fascinating. So I've done this back to 2020. I just gave you the last 2 years. But this is kind of the value distribution, or when you look at our overall values in the county, what percent each makes up, particularly the continued shrinking of ag land. But last year we had a lot of ag status applications. So our ag increased about 2%. You also can look at like market adjustments that were and weren't made. Ag went up if it was pasture ground around that 1.94%, whereas we didn't change anything else. So that's another reason why it would increase, whereas everything else would kind of shrink.
This would be interesting to see longer term trends on that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. Any other questions for me on this? Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lenny. Yep. So this is all information that the public can come and pick up at your office if they're curious about it too. I know you're always really wonderful about explaining what all these numbers mean and how they relate to each other, how they fit into the whole county taxation process. So thank you for that.
Yep.
Did you didn't send us a digital copy of this as well, did you?
I can. Do you want me to?
That'd be awesome. I appreciate it. Yep. I'm just gonna lose the paper.
Yep. All right. Kind of in on the next one, so I'll just wait.
I was gonna jump ahead and do rents and stuff.
for it.
Get back, but you can stay there.
No.
There's just a bill.
Yeah.
We just got a bill for all tag. The 309th Street.
Yep.
Tabernacle Road, that bridge
Sorry.
bank stabilization,
Gotcha.
$117,024.30.
Just pay the invoice. Yep.
Second. Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Just gonna let you guys know that, gonna meet NRCS today out there. And, they're gonna do their final inspection and then
Great.
that's 100% paid, so.
My favorite kind of paid, yeah.
Yeah, and then I got subsurface, they're gonna reline a culvert in between 313 and 314 on Greenfield. So they'll be out there today between 11 and probably 4, so
Nice.
just wanna keep you guys updated on what's going on, so.
Yeah, thank you.
Tabernacle, looks good.
Yeah, it looks really good. I see they
Good
finally
job
got
done.
the flop gate on. I know a few people were kind of worried about that.
Well, I'm gonna check it out.
And then I think the only thing left they gotta do is just seed it, then it's completely done, so. But yeah, it looks really good out there. Thank you guys.
Thank
Yeah, thanks, Brent.
Microphone system for the commissioner room.
Yeah. So, many of you know that was a music performance major, so I have a lot of contacts in the music world. And with the microphone discussion that you guys have been having, I brought in Paul Ebsen. He's helping trying to equalize values. We have the equalization meeting later this afternoon, and I was like, selfishly, I want to make sure that if I have appellants that are zooming in, they can hear to the discussion appropriately. So he's balancing and tweaking and that kind of thing. So we were in here a couple weeks ago messing with stuff and thought we got to a better resolution than where it had been for the last few meetings in here. Hoping we can extend the life of the current system before needing to purchase new. So anything you want to add? No?
It's sounding good. I can hear myself too. So that's weird. Yeah, no, it's sounding good now. And I adjusted all the gains up. Sometimes the auto noise cancellation is not helping us in any. So if you're kind of far away from the microphone, I've got them up as high as they can go right now. But you still got to kind of get in on the mic just to get, just because it's in front of you doesn't mean it's necessarily picking you up. But it's sounding much better now. And yeah, doing good.
So I think that's always been one of the challenge for us as commissioners is like, when we're moving fast through the agenda, we're going like this and we get in one of these kind of longer discussions and we sit back like this. So like, is that too far? If we're sitting back like that, can you still hear us?
I can hear you. Yeah, I mean, it's just, there's just some times where if there's other noise, then the system is trying to auto get rid of it and it might not know if you're not giving it enough input. But so far it's sounding good. And I tried, I was messing around with a lower level of noise reduction, but then it's just kind of, you hear a lot more stuff. And I don't know that we want that. I'd suggest listening back to this recording afterwards and just seeing, you'll hear exactly what I'm talking about. There's just sometimes where it's a little softer and that tries to get rid of it because it's not sure if it's talking or if it's just background noise.
Awesome. All right.
I know our first meeting back was not good, but then I ran into Ina on the second one and she said much better. So yeah, so we're definitely getting there.
Yep. I think this one sounds really good so far. The equipment's here. The only thing would be, if we really wanted, would be like inline gain boosters for each of the channels, because these microphones are super low gain. They're just not really giving a lot. So I've got the board maxed out, but I mean, I'm listening and I'm coming around. I got my ears on at about 50% and I can hear just fine. So I think we're there. But yeah, I'd love to have you guys listen and just give some feedback.
I'm going to do something weird. I'm going to go hello, 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 hello.
Exactly.
And then that way, when I go back to the meeting later, I'll have some idea.
Yep. But I tried to test it. We're not clipping by any means. So if you eat the microphone, we'll be just fine.
All right.
Mhm.
Yep.
Thanks for your work on that, Paul.
Yeah, thank you so much, Paul. Really, really appreciate it. Yep.
And I'm willing to give a little tutorial too whenever to anyone. So
Yeah, and for context, so that people understand how valuable this is, the microphones we were looking at replacing the system with were probably $3,000 each, and we would probably need 2 to 3 of them. So Paul Ebsen helping us with just this volunteer assistance is potentially saving us a lot of money in the short term here. So thank you so much.
Right?
It's not who you know, it's who she knows.
Yeah, right.
Travis,
I know that there was kind of a favor done here, but I'd like us to reimburse him for his time a little bit, so can I just make a motion that we reimburse Paul $100 for the previous visit and today's?
Can we do that today? I have no problem with that. I just
I
want
would,
to.
I would wait, just add it to the next agenda.
Okay.
Since how does this agenda read?
It's discussion regarding microphone.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'd wait since
Okay.
it specifies discussion.
I'll rescind that then.
Put her on the next agenda.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Lynn.
Thanks.
Yep.
Thanks, Paul.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes. Vouchers. Everybody get to see them?
Yep.
Move to pay the vouchers.
Second?
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Both same sign, motion passes. Is there anything else? I think we're through the agenda, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Both same sign, we're adjourned.
Right, back over at 1 o'clock.